Okay, Neil, now you're regarded as one of the best cash game players in the world, and this was cemented earlier in September when you won the award for Best Cash Game Player at the British Poker Awards. So in order to be as successful as you've become, you can't just eradicate all the obvious errors. Now we're going to look at 5 leaks, and you're going to tell us how to fix them. Completing in the small blind. There's a limper in middle position, the button limps behind, and you're in the small blind with Jack-2 offsuit. You decide to call. What have you done wrong, and how do you fix it?
Well, it's kind of lazy poker, isn't it? I mean, you're there, you think, oh God, look, it's such a cheap thing. I can just call now. It doesn't cost me hardly anything. But the problem is, you're going to be out of position for the whole hand with a bad hand like Jack-Deuce. I mean, if you're playing in a super deep stack game where you could almost afford to try and flop Jack-Deuce or something, well, maybe there's some excuse for it, but almost never are the stacks big enough and the blinds small enough to make that play justifiable. If you're going to play that hand at all, maybe raise a big raise occasionally and punish those limpers and try and pick it up, but normally that's just an easy fold. Okay.
Number 2, firing once and giving up. You raise in middle position with a hand like Queen 9 and get called by the button. The flop is Jack 7-4 and you fire a continuation bet and get called. You check on the king turn and deuce river and lose to ace high. What have you done wrong and how do you fix it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've said it in the question, really. I mean, firing once. This is what I'm actually a little bit guilty of. I'm glad you read this one out today. I must tighten up on that. I mean, basically, that kind of flop where it's a totally dry flop, nobody's really hit anything most likely. If you're going to tell a consistent story with your hand, you're trying to sell the idea of strength. If you just fire once and then just back off, you're basically telling the guy, well, I just had one little stab at it and I'm just giving up. And it makes it so easy for people to float you. They just call on the flop with the intention of stealing it off you later. Or maybe they've just got a hand like ace high with some showdown value. If you put extra pressure on them, fire the turn, it's making them think maybe there's a third big bet coming on the river. It's very hard for them to call.
Okay, number 3 is folding the button. You aren't playing enough hands from the button, regularly folding when it's passed to you, or not calling and 3-betting enough when others have opened the pot.
Well, that one's an easy one, yeah. I mean, position, everybody always talks about position in No Limit Hold'em, how important that is. But, you know, you can't say it often enough. If you get to act second, the other guy's already given you loads of information before you have to make your decision. And obviously, the button is the best position to have. So you should open up your range of hands that you play. Hands that maybe you would not raise with in other positions, you should think about raising with, or 3-betting maybe, from the button. So, yeah, definitely, hardly ever should you fold the button, really.
Okay, number 4, failing to isolate limpers. A fishy player limps from early position. It's folded to you in the cutoff and you limp behind or fold your medium strength hand.
Yeah, that's again, it's lazy poker. You look down, you find a nice hand, you've got 8-10 suited or something. Oh, that's quite nice, that could hit some flops, maybe I could pick up a draw and that could be interesting. Much better to just isolate the original limper. Now, if he calls, he's on the back foot straight away, he's out of position. Most likely he's going to check to you after the flop. You're going to either pick up the pot before the flop, just there and then. Most likely he's going to call you, check to you on the flop. You're just going to make a bet in position and he's just going to fold his hand. You've got all the momentum in the pot if you do that, whereas if you just limp behind, it just looks like you've got a wishy-washy weak hand and it's easy for them to rob you.
Okay, and finally, number 5, checking to induce bluffs. You have ace-king on a king 2-3-7-10 board. You bet the flop and turn for value, but check the river to induce your opponent to bluff. He checks behind and loses with jacks. What went wrong?
Well, what went wrong is that you had a really good hand and he had a kind of nearly good hand, the worst hand in poker, the second best hand. So you've got to charge those people a price. Value betting on the river and missing those value bets on the river is definitely a leak. Value betting on the river, if you up the frequency of value bets you do, particularly thinner value bets where you're not certain you're in front, but you're pretty sure you are, and that you're pretty sure you can get called by a slightly worse hand. If you can just up that frequency that you're doing that, definitely you're adding to your bottom line.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Right, just to remind you that if you want us to help solve your poker headaches, then drop us a line via email to pokerplayer@pokerchanneleurope.com. But now let's take a look at what's coming up over the next couple of months in our poker diary. Get yourself down to the brand new Fox Poker Club on Shaftesbury Avenue in the heart of London for London Calling, a 57-event poker festival sponsored by 3D poker site PKR. London Calling gives you the chance to play in 28 days of live poker with incredibly affordable buy-ins starting from just £20. Make space in your diary on the 26th of October for EPT Vienna, which sees Europe's biggest poker tour returning to Austria's capital for the first time in 6 years. The €5,300 main event is sure to be a sellout, and winning it could literally change your life. For something a little closer to home, check out the last stop on the 2010 British Masters Poker Tour in Edinburgh from October the 29th, which features £100, £200 and £500 no-limit hold'em events. Well, plenty to look forward to, and we'll be back next month with more views and news from the world of poker. In the meantime, thank you very much to Neil, and I'll see you next time on the Poker Player Show. Bye-bye for now.